Good evening. It's Group 86. I am Muhammad Farhan Hassan and other group members are Muhammad Zubair and Muhammad Imran. For our assessment 3, which is group presentation, we have selected the first case study, which is growing GDP in poor countries and regions around the world to alleviate poverty. For this, we have selected Nigeria. Today, our group will discuss strategies for enhancing Nigeria GDP through the focused development of small medium enterprises (SMEs). We will present compelling evidence and practical recommendations that Nigeria government and policy makers can implement for the faster sustainable economic growth. Next, introduction. SMEs are lifeblood of Nigeria economy, not just in statistics but in real scenario and tangible impact. They represent close to 48% in nation GDP growth and give jobs to 84% of workforce. And this wide footprint highlights their importance in not only driving economic output but also in supporting the livelihoods, especially in unreserved and rural areas. Unlike large corporations, and SMEs tend to reinvest the profit locally and create grassroots level jobs. As such, they are essential in achieving growth and reducing the socio-economic disparity in any country. Without strong growing SMEs, long-term economic stability remains elusive. And this presentation builds on the foundation showing how a robust SME sector can be Nigeria's best tool for sustained economic growth. Next, problem statement. Fluctuating growth trends, significant dips and recoveries. Here we have listed data of 7 years from 2017 to 2023 for Nigeria GDP growth. In 27, it's 0.81%. In 2020, it's minus 1.79%. In 2023, it's 2.86. Here we have created the graph showing the Nigeria GDP growth. From 2017 to 2019, GDP growth is increasing. Then there is a big dip. From the graph, we can see it's in 2020 and it's because of COVID. At that time, COVID was at peak. And then there is a big rise in 2021. In 2021, GDP growth is 3.65%, which is higher of all years. Then from 2021 to 2023, we can see GDP growth is decreasing. This inconsistent trends make it clear that Nigeria cannot only rely on traditional sectors. Diversification through SME support could stabilize the economy and absorb economic shocks more effectively. With the right framework and policies in place, SMEs can play a central role in ensuring consistent and sustainable GDP growth. Next. One of the key strengths of SME is their adaptability and wide reach across different sectors, which enable economic diversification. While oil remains Nigeria's main export, over-reliance has led to economic shocks. SMEs, on the other hand, offer stability to any country economy. They exist in agriculture, manufacturing, tech, retail, services, add other sectors and spread economic activity across the country. From the number graph, we can see that employment generation from the SMEs is 84%, and from this graph, we can see that GDP contribution of SME is 48%. Next, challenges faced by Nigerian SMEs. And despite the potential of SMEs in Nigeria have several systematic barriers. One of the most pressing issue is limited access to affordable financing. Many entrepreneurs can't meet the collateral requirements or manage high interest rate. Infrastructure is another challenge. Over 40% of SMEs operate without reliable electricity or internet, and this limits productivity and access to wider market. Furthermore, bureaucratic red tape and inefficient regulatory system discourage business formalization. Finally, there is a significant gap essential in business skills. People in Nigeria lack in business skills, marketing, and digital literacy related skills. Without addressing these barriers, SME cannot innovate, contribute fully to GDP. Effective reform in these things can simulate the SMEs so that they can work effectively. Next, infrastructure realities in Nigeria. Infrastructure continue to be one of the most critical and bottleneck facing SMEs in Nigeria. According to World Bank data, only 60% Nigerians have reliable electricity, while just over half have access to stable internet. For business, especially those operating in rural or undeserved areas, this means there will be frequent disruptions due to electricity issues and due to internet issues because SME depends upon steady power and their operations should be run effectively. While internet access enable them to connect with customers, supplier, and financial services, addressing these deficits is not just about improving ease of business, it's about leveling the playing field for millions of entrepreneurs. If Nigeria is serious about leveraging SMEs to grow the economy, infrastructure investment must be treated as foundation strategy. Next part to Muhammad Zubair.
Thank you, Muhammad Farhan Hassan. As you know that Muhammad Farhan has described about the Nigeria's economy. Here we can see the ease of doing business. So ease of doing business is the indicator through which it is established that in which country how it is easier to grow a business. It's a World Bank ranking. We can see that according to World Bank ranking 2022, the ranking of Nigeria is 131 out of 190. So here we can see that according to World Bank, SMEs can't start or grow business in Nigeria with such ease because they can't grow with such a profit. Also, there is the average business registration. So SMEs can face long time to register their themselves in the country. So it will cause a problem. So investors of SMEs uh, investors of SMEs will not prefer Nigeria if the registration time is very high and it's delaying to register for SMEs. Average registration time is almost 7 to 19 days. So it should be lower to start the innovative business in SMEs so that it will contribute to Nigeria's economy. Uh, uh, Also, the its third one is about the registration cost. We can see that registration cost is approximately high. It's almost 30% of average monthly income. So it's a very huge amount when a new investor comes and he have to invest almost 30% of monthly income. So it is a very expensive one. We can see that international benchmark here we can compare the Nigeria SME's growth and GDP with the Rwanda. We can see that Rwanda has grown GDP by 6 to 8% over a decade, according to a World Bank source. It means that for last 10 years, also we can see in the graph from 2017 to 2023, we can see that Rwanda GDP is growing day by day, and its GDP is growing constantly with 6 to 8%. Um, we can see that in 2017 its GDP increased was almost 1%. Also 2018 its GDP was increased 2%. Here we can see that in 2019 its GDP was increased about 2%. Also we can see that in 2021 its GDP was increased almost 4%. Here we can see at the end of 2023 its GDP was about 3.5%. But in we can compare it with the Nigeria. We can see that Nigeria GDP is uncertain. It is as it is decreased to a negative amount in 2020. It was also due to a pandemic COVID-19. So Rwanda has adopted some initiative to grow the SMEs. Here we can see that strong SME support system. The Rwanda Development Board has created a strong SME support system. So they have created the development board, which facilitates the SMEs to grow their businesses. So we can copy this model for Nigeria to grow the SMEs. Uh, Also, the Rwanda Development Board has finances the SMEs through uh, government grants. As it's discussed in 2023, they have provided finances with less interest rates and government grants to grow the SMEs. So we can copy this model for Nigeria. Here we can see that the root cause analysis. This is a fishbone diagram. From the fishbone diagram, we can see that there are five root cause analysis. We have to improve these root causes to grow the SME performance. Here we can see these are finances, infrastructure, regulations, and skills. We can see that these all root causes are interrelated with each other. Mm, if any one root cause is improved, the SME performance will not be increased by a single root cause improvement. Here we can see if government is financing the SMEs, but the infrastructure is not a good quality. There are deficiencies in infrastructure, so the SMEs can't grow due to just only finances. We can also see that there are complex regulations which delay the registration period. That's why SMEs can't work or initiate properly from the for a startup. Also, there are skills. We can see that in the Nigeria, there is unskilled labor or workers. So government have to provide or the government have to make partnership with some other companies to skill the laborers. To skill the labor force so that they have enough knowledge and they know how to use the digital technology for SMEs so that SMEs will be grow by the skilled labor. So all these are the root causes. Government have to improve all these root causes to grow the SMEs in the Nigeria. So first proposed action is expand SME financing. As we have discussed in the previous, that Rwanda has adopted a development board which has facilitated the SMEs to um, grant them the finances with low interest rate and government grants. So Nigeria can adopt strategy to develop a development bank which can facilitate the finances to the SMEs. Also, they can create public-private microfinance partnership. So the other investors or the private persons can facilitate the SMEs with finances. Also, government can requirement. mm, Along with this, digital SMEs credit scoring system will be improved by digitalizing and providing the internet connections to the SMEs and the rural areas. And the second proposed action is improve infrastructure access. As we have discussed in the fishbone picture, that all these actions are interlinked with each other. So government have to prioritize SMEs clusters for power and roadmap upgrades. They can gather the SMEs clusters in different spots and they can provide the good infrastructure to access because it will reduce the operational cost for SMEs. Also, they can create the industrial zones where these SMEs can grow and the government can provide the best infrastructure for the operational work of the SMEs. Also, government can provide the digital infrastructure, especially in rural areas, to provide the broadband and fin technology so that in rural areas SMEs can go and grow in the rural areas um, with a good profit so that they can contribute in the Nigeria's economy. Now I will call Muhammad Imran to discuss further.
Thank you very much, Zubair. as already Zubair discussed the two actions, and in this we will discuss the third action, that is simplifying regulations. The regulatory framework in Nigeria are complex and epic, and this discouraged the formalization and growth of SMEs in Nigeria. Thus, this study suggests establishing one-step shop, or in other words, an online portal for the registration of business, payments of taxes, and licensing. To support entrepreneurs who do not have internet access, regional centers should help to support this digital solution. Reducing the registration and compliance process makes them less time consuming, reduces corruption opportunities, and spurs informal business to formalize. Fostering early stage growth and resilience can be done by introducing tax incentives such as tax holidays or reduced tax rates for new SMEs under 5 years old. This also requires dealing with corruption within regulatory institutions. This can include the introduction of transparent reporting systems, the introduction of digital audit trails, and so on. Entrepreneurs feel more inclined to reinvest in their business and meaningful contributor to the national economy if they trust in the fairness and efficiency of the system. The next slide in this we will discuss about the policy integration strategies and KPIs. Uh, as policy changes must be goal oriented and measurable. This study proposed raising SME's GDP contribution from 48% to 55% by 2027 and reducing average registration time from 14 days to 5 days. These KPIs should be adopted nationally across ministries, trade, finance, and technology through a coordinated SME development council. Tracking matrices such as the number of formalized SMEs, loan disbursement volumes, and broadband penetration rates can ensure accountability. Regular public reporting will maintain transparency and enable real time adjustment. Aligning this framework with the Vision 2050 and SDG goals ensures long term coherence. Nigeria doesn't need more plans. It needs actionable benchmarks to guide meaningful SME driven growth. In the next slide, we will discuss about the anticipated outcomes. One is the short terms and the other is the long term. The immediate outcomes of implementing our recommendations will be reduced registration delays and increased access to financing. These changes can stimulate rapid business creation, especially among youth and women. In the long run, we anticipated tangible economic gains, GDP growth stabilizing around 5 to 7%, like high performing emerging economies, and a significant drop in unemployment. Moreover, we expect a broader tax base as business formalize, contributing to public revenue. Equally important are the social benefits. Stronger rural economics, reduced migration pressures, and increased local inventions. SMEs will become self sustaining engines of development, capable of powering Nigeria towards inclusive and diversified economic prosperity. And the next slide is risks and mitigations. The first risk is policy inconsistency, and the second is political instability, and we will discuss about the latter is mitigations. The potential risks are the obvious potential in SMEs to spur Nigeria's GDP. The first policy inconsistency, changes in leadership, and changes in political priority. And these can throw even the most well designed programs. It will be necessary to safeguard against this, and thus SME development policies must be supported by legalization that requires that support be mandatory and enduring. Another risk would be political instability. For instance, in conflict and unrest areas. Building resilience to climate change will be achieved through the strengthening of governing institutions and the involvement of regional governments, civil society, and the private sector in the implementation. It also involves multi stakeholders that add to the transparency and the share owner. All initiatives should be regular review mechanism embedded in them which adapt to changing contexts. To risk does not mean failing. It just means being ready, forward looking, willing to adopt, and continuing to focus on the long term goals. The next slide is conclusions and call to actions. Thus, it seems that Nigeria is merely a few steps away from restructuring its economic future. In numbers, SMEs are already the backbone of the economy and can be made the engine for GDP growth and national prosperity. However, more than promises are required here as a bold policy actions and commitments are needed. With what we are proposing today are no experiments. They are already practices elsewhere in the world and adapted to work within Nigeria's peculiarities. In this regard, there is a need for the government, the private sector, and civil society to work together. SME development is not a short run solution to poverty, inequality, and stagnation, but a long run one. We should not allow us to miss this opportunity in taking decisive action. Nigeria can realize its entrepreneurial potential, generates jobs, and fuels an economy that works for all of its peoples. And the next slide is about the references. And these are the references lists used to support the information presented. They include key reports, articles, and data sources relevant to the case study. Thank you very much, Zubair and Farhan.